Well, it's no secret that since this pandemic broke out, Dr. Fauci's advice hasn't always been spot on. 6 months ago, when the virus is already killing people in China, Fauci said the American people had nothing to worry about. Take a listen to his advice on Greg Kelly's show back in January.
This is not a major threat for the people in the United States, and this is not something that the citizens of the United States right now should be worried about.
All right, let's bring in healthcare analyst Seth Denson, who is the author of The Cure, a blueprint for solving America's healthcare crisis. Plus, we have foreign affairs analyst and Newsmax columnist Tawrik Hamid. Hamid is also the author of Inside Jihad. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
All right, Seth, let me start with you. Seth, let me start with you real quick. I feel like, you know, Lindsay was just talking about this a moment ago with Admiral Giroir from HHS. It's a novel virus. I get it. Things have changed. But there seems to be this revisionist history that Fauci's been perfect. It's almost like his advice is kind of like his first pitch yesterday. It's not exactly straight over the plate. And I feel like I'm not blaming him. I respect him. I respect his service to the country. But when you listen to the media, it's like, you know, nothing has gone wrong from CDC or from Fauci since day one, and we just need to listen to them more.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Sean. And in reality, is I think his pitch was more of a socially distanced pitch. But with specifics to the media, I got to think that if Fauci was giving the same recommended advice to the Obama administration, we probably wouldn't hear a lot of the mess ups. Here's the reality. Dr. Fauci has become the spokesperson for the scientific method. And the challenge when you have a novel coronavirus like we do, there's a lot of changing variables. And part of that scientific method is that you're going to get some things wrong until you get them right. It's a process of cancellation. And unfortunately, he's in a position where if he doesn't walk on water, we're going to find something wrong with that.
Hamid, you're a doctor. Let me ask you this. Is Dr. Fauci becoming a distraction, meaning that he is now he's asked to weigh in on everything, right? So the convention got canceled. Should the president have done that? How's your relationship with the president? Are you going to throw out the pitch? Should the president go do this? It's almost like Fauci has now become the distraction, and I don't understand through all the interviews he's doing how he's actually doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is figuring out how to flatten this curve and find a vaccine and a cure. Is that a fair description, or do you disagree with that?
No, I agree with you, Sean. I actually feel that what is needed in the next stage is to ask Dr. Fauci clearly about any advice he would recommend, to ask him what is his scientific base for this, because he said several opinions, and we need to know as the American people what scientific base he is giving. If he recommends, for example, closing down or shutting down the United States, when he recommended this, just immediately after that, like many other countries, the numbers went very high. So I just want to know, did he have any control study to say that closing down the United States will putting healthy people in their homes, not the sick ones. We need to isolate the sick, sure, but to lock the whole country and put every healthy person in his home, which actually, if you remember what Governor Cuomo said about this issue, he said they discovered in New York that the probability of you to get an infection with COVID-19 in your home is more than the probability if you left your home or you are around. So why Dr. Fauci is not being asked about this? We must ask him about why he is not capitalizing on this data and telling people if it is high risk to stay at home, then he has to let people out. That is as simple as that.
Dr. Hamid, you've said that he's disregarded these simple tools for coronavirus statistics. What are those simple tools that he's supposed to be using?
Let me be very clear here. From the beginning, the focus of Dr. Fauci and most of mainstream media was on the number of cases. But if you think deeply, let us assume all the American people got coronavirus infection, and none of them went to the hospital and none of them died. Then are we having any problem? No. So the problem is actually not the number of cases. It is the mortality. It is how many will go to hospital. He is ignoring some basic statistics, like, for example, number one, the critical cases compared to the active cases. How many cases, the percentage of cases that will go to hospital if they got corona infection? It is actually worldwide, it is 1%. In US, it is less than this, 0.9. In Germany, it is 4%, so we are much better in Germany. In fact, in Sweden, the country that refused to close the schools is not mandating masks and refused to lock down its country or the country. They have close to 0% critical cases compared to the active cases. So when we have 1% of our cases going to hospital and the mortality rate in hospitals is less than 20%, and we can actually diminish this mortality rate if we give hydroxychloroquine according to the Henry Ford studies and the New York studies, the recent ones. Yeah. So we can significantly diminish the mortality. He's ignoring that we went from 84% mortality rates in mid-March to now less than 7%. So he needs to focus on this.
Seth, let me jump in here real quick. What do you think? I feel like Lindsay brought this up in her discussion with Admiral Guar, but I feel like we keep getting sent mixed signals. We can play baseball at the professional level, but we can't do other things in terms of how we congregate. I think he said it best in his interview with her, where he said, "Look, we just got to, wear masks, socially distance, and keep doing, because that seems to be responsible for the spike, according to him." Do you think the government is giving it to us the best way possible, meaning that it's one-off advice through interviews that we're getting this out of Dr. Fauci, or should the CDC put out just straight guidelines and say everybody follow these? Or frankly, is there a better way?
Yeah, I think that if I was advising the government, I would tell them, let's get ahead of the fact that we don't have all the answers, and that we're going to work together to get this solved, and that we got to treat our country not like it's one big place that we can broadly paint a brush across. For example, New York is not Nebraska. And we have to understand that the whole idea behind everything that the doctor was mentioning a moment ago was really to make sure that our healthcare system didn't get overly taxed, so that we could treat those that would need it. But we're still learning about this disease, how it mutates, how people react to it. And so if the government has done something wrong, it's by being very clear with the American people that this is a little bit of trial and error, and we're going to learn as we go, and that you're going to get some mixed messaging because we're going to have to change course as more variables become reality.
Yeah, I almost wish that people, and Dr. Hamid, do you think that more people should be saying that Dr. Fauci should get out there and say, hey, remind people this is a novel coronavirus? I feel like some people have forgotten that, to let people know it's going to constantly be changing. We only have about a minute left.
We need to hear from him some scientifically based hope. I'm saying scientifically based, because there is a lot of science showing there is a hope, and giving people hope actually improves their immunity. Depression can diminish your immunity and actually make you more susceptible to this disease. So giving people scientifically based hope can probably or likely help weakening the coronavirus epidemic.
All right.
Okay, good point. Thank you guys very much, Seth. Hamid, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, guys. You bet. All right, still to come, the Redskins continue to wipe away all traces of their controversial name. We're going to talk about that with a former Redskins player and Super Bowl champ right after the break.